hello from the stairs that I just cleaned. I used a carpet cleaner. We rented one from Ace Hardware, and I spent like 3 hours yesterday just cleaning the carpets, which was fun. I recently just played through Dispatch, um, which I found to be a tremendous game. I thought it was really, really special. Genuinely, a very cool, unique game that made me excited about superheroes in a way that I haven't been excited about them for a very long time. Just because of the oversaturation of the genre with all of the Marvel movies and the DCs, and it's just been a while since we've had a good superhero thing, or since I have enjoyed a good proper superhero adventure. This one and Dispatch was such a unique take on it. I love Telltale games, despite the fact that they're kind of weird. The Wolf Among Us was one of my favorite games that I played a few years back. I really thought it was really special, and it's cool that Ad Hoc is the studio that made Dispatch, and a lot of them are. I don't know the full details of it, but from what I understand, a lot of them are ex Telltale game designers and stuff. But anyway, and I really like Dispatch. Obviously, it was really well received, and a lot of, if you've been on the internet at all, then you've seen that it's gotten a ton of attention. But I thought it was really great, and it just got me thinking about why did I like it so much. Obviously, I thought that the art was fun, the music I really enjoyed, and I actually really found the dispatching gameplay where you're getting these calls in and you're sending the superheroes out. I actually found that gameplay to be super fun. I wasn't expecting to like it. Initially when I booted the game up, I was thinking, oh, cool, let's get involved with cool characters and a fun story. But I wasn't. I found myself really quite hooked on the game, and I missed that actually. I missed playing that. That was genuinely a very fun game that I would have played just by itself without any of the story. But something that I was thinking about as I was playing Dispatch was, especially in the third act of the game, I found that the story gets a little muddled. It's not it's not bad, not by any stretch, I don't think, but it gets a little messy. Just a couple things that I thought were kind of it's all right, which I'm not going to get into. It wasn't like anything crazy. Just it wasn't as tight at the end as I found it to be throughout the beginning, the first half of the game. But it got me thinking about why I still loved it, why I still thought it was really, really tremendous, despite the fact that maybe I didn't think it stuck the landing super well at the end. Why is it stuck with me for these last few weeks? I've been thinking about it all the time. And I think what it really came down to was the characters. And that feels like an obvious, it feels like a no-brainer. But I grew to really care about those characters, all of them, very much. I found them to be incredibly personable and really well acted and designed. It's funny because being in the internet zeitgeist, it was initially a little hard to not hear Jacksepticeye and Moist Critical and not hear their voices, but it didn't take very long for me to get sucked into their characters as well and kind of forget that I'm hearing Charlie and Sean. But anyway, it got me thinking about some of my favorite media and why I like it so much. And I think what it really boils down to is that my favorite stories are often the ones that have the strongest characterization. And it is obviously good stories and good characters go hand in hand. I don't think those things are separate. But I do love a lot of things that I think have messy stories or not great stories, but their characterization is so strong that I care for these characters anyway that I don't really mind that the story's not perfect. Arcane is one of those examples. I loved Arcane season 1 when it came out. I thought it was amazing. I watched it like 3 times. Season 2 came out. I only watched it once, but I want to rewatch it again and see how I feel about it, because there were some things that I liked, there were some things that I didn't like, but the thing that remained, that was the constant through it and the thing that ultimately made me stick through it and finish and feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, was the characters. Because even though the story I found to get a little convoluted or a little odd in certain ways, I care so deeply for Vi and for Caitlin and for Jinx and for all of the characters that I grew to love. I feel the same way about Stranger Things, where in Stranger Things, the story kind of loses me a little bit, and I kind of lose interest in a lot of the elements of it, but the characters I think are so distinct and so fun and they've endeared themselves to me in such a way that I have to watch and find out what happens next. Also, a side note: the last time I filmed, I didn't have this horrendous mustache, but we're just trying things out. My sister said I should. She's like, you should shave to a mustache. I said, okay, so we're gonna try it. Now I look like every white commentator guy on the internet. If I spread my legs, it's like an angel. Like, ooh, wah! Oh, it didn't do it. Wah! Well, anyway. So anyway, back to what I was actually talking about. I lost my train of thought because of the crotch glow. Right, characters. Characters, I think, for me are really the driving point. I love a good overarching theme as much as anybody. I love a good setting, absolutely. But the good characters are what will always keep me around every single time. Again, I mean, if you watched the first kind of diary that I posted, journal entry on here, the one where I'm talking about The Last of Us, and you're going to hear me talk about The Last of Us a lot if I keep making these videos. It's going to come up a lot. I'm sorry. It is one of my favorite games. Both of them are my favorite games that I've ever played, and I will always talk about them. But those games also, the characterization is so strong. And even though I think that the story can sometimes not be perfect, especially in the second game, there's some there's some odd choices and some things that, story-wise or in the overarching plot are interesting, or that, I didn't think were perfect. The characters are so strong. I care about Ellie. Ellie is one of my favorite characters ever. I care so deeply about her, not in like a weird way, but in a just, how can I not care about this character? I care about Joel, I care about Dina, and, even though there was some hurdles, I genuinely grew to care about Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. But anyway, this is a pattern that I've noticed in a lot of my favorite works of fiction, be it games or movies or whatnot, is that a good character, for me personally, and I don't think this is an across-the-board statement for everybody, but for me personally, a good character does so much of the heavy lifting, and carries a story way further than it maybe even has the right to be carried. I just watched Mickey 17 the other day, and it was funny because I looked it up and I was surprised at how many people didn't care for it, who thought that it was messy and bungled and not too great. I thought it was great, and I think the reason I thought it was great was not because I think the overarching plot was particularly amazing, although I do think it was fun and inspired, and I know it was based on a book, but it was Mickey. Mickey was so fun, and Robert Pattinson was so fun that I didn't really care where the story was going. I just wanted to see what happened to Mickey. I just wanted to see that he would be okay. And maybe this is just me, maybe this is just a weird empathy sort of thing. Not trying to be like, oh, I'm an empath. I just really feel what these characters are feeling. That's not where I'm going with this. It's just maybe I get attached too easily to characters. But that's really all it takes. If there's a good character that's able to hook me, then I'm generally along for the ride. And so I think I look for that in games more than anything else. Is a good character, a good defining character, or good set of characters that have really good chemistry. That's, again, going back to Dispatch, something what I think made it so strong. It is such a character-driven narrative. The entire narrative is involved or is revolving around these characters, and they're all so important to it. And it ties that with the gameplay extremely well. I don't know, as I was talking to my brother about it, we were talking about slight spoilers for Dispatch. If you haven't played it, I super recommend it. I picked Waterboy as my team sub in, as opposed to I almost called him Omni-Man, Phenomena Man. I picked Waterboy because I was like, this guy needs a chance. I think Phenomena Man will be okay. I think that Waterboy needs a chance. So I picked him and I subbed him in. And the funniest thing is, my favorite thing that ever happened with his character wasn't a cutscene. It wasn't anything like that. It was, and this is a sign that I think that they really nailed having gameplay that ties to the characters. was that in one of those dispatch moments, um, I sent in Waterboy on a mission that he might have not maybe done super well on. Like the stats weren't really super well aligned, and so there wasn't a high probability that he was going to do it okay. And and then he nailed it, and I felt this weird sense of like fatherly pride towards this loser. I thought, wow, my boy, my useless boy, he did something. I'm so proud of him. And that was something that really happened a lot in dispatch. I found myself subconsciously sending people who maybe weren't even the best for the job, heroes who maybe weren't the best for the job, into things because I was like, well, they haven't had a win in a minute. I think I really want to give them a chance. And it was like not at all tactical, but I felt like I needed to do it because it was just like I was like I care for this team. So anyway, character driven stuff I think really is just it's just my bread and butter. And that's broad and that's vague, and I think that an argument could be made that, well, everything's character based, but I think it's, for me in particular, that's what I hone in on, and that's what grabs me and that's what keeps me. And I notice in a lot of the media or games that I have a hard time sticking to. It's games that I think personally don't have as strong characters or characterization or character design. Or relationships between characters, and that's what makes it kind of hard for me to stick around for a lot of those things. But yeah, I think that's all my thoughts for today. I'm gonna get back to trying out Clair Obscur. I've only sunk a couple hours into it, and I have avoided all manner of spoilers. I know it won like everything at the Game Awards, and from what I understand, it's pretty deserved. Maybe we'll talk about that later after I beat the game. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to that. So Merry Christmas.